What's up, everybody? So in today's video, I wanted to talk about the new 2020 Toyota Supra that has obviously been in the news quite a lot in the last week or two since it's been unveiled in mid-January. I'm pretty excited about the car. There's a lot of controversy. Half the people love it and are pumped for the new Supra. The other half literally hate it and think it's the worst car ever. So today I'm going to go over just a little bit of the specs, just in case anyone's not familiar with what the new car has to offer. We're going to talk a little bit about the 90s Supra, which in my opinion is the icon. That's the one, when I was a little kid, I was a 90s kid, so the Supra and Skyline, those were my iconic dream cars. Of course, I own the R35 GT-R, which is a lot of fun to drive. So the new Supra is definitely something that I'm interested in. I'm a big Supra fan. So with that said, though, to start off, I don't remember all the specs, so I have them written down. But as far as pricing goes, base price is $49,900, so it's $50,000 base price. Then we have a premium edition that is a little bit more expensive at $54,000. And then a launch edition, there's only 1,500 launch editions. That one is $55,200. So not too bad in pricing, I think. Really not, the craziest priced car. And I don't think it's too expensive for what you're getting. If we look in the old Supra, the 93 Turbo Supra started at $40,000. In today's money, that's a lot of money. That's like 70 grand or something like that. And then for 96, the Turbo Supra was about 50 grand. So same price more than 20 years later, but with inflation and everything, you're talking about the old Supra being like $70,000 in today's money. So the old Supra was actually a pretty expensive car. And with that, it was not the fastest, most powerful car. I think a lot of younger kids nowadays, they think of a Supra as some 1,000 horsepower insane supercar that Toyota built. It was never that. What it was a GT car, a comfortable cruiser with a very, very capable engine that once people started modifying it, they realized there is a ton of potential. So the Turbo Supra, the 2JZ engine, twin turbo inline 6-cylinder engine, it only made 320 horsepower and 315 pound-feet of torque. It was not a fast car. I think 0 to 60 was like 5 seconds something. So it was never a supercar. It was never a 1,000 horsepower car. It just had a lot of potential. So if we look at the new 2020 Supra, it still has an inline 6-cylinder engine with forced induction. It's a single turbo from BMW, of course. Now that is something that a lot of people hate. It is a BMW engine, pretty much like an M2, but in a Toyota body. So yeah, the new Supra kind of is a BMW Supra in all honesty. Mechanically, there's a lot of BMW in it. It's built on the same platform as the new BMW Z4. So it is, BMW underneath rather than having a Toyota, a 3JZ engine or something like that. But if we look at the power, we get 335 horsepower and 365 pound-feet of torque. So we have 15 more horsepower and like 40-something more pound-feet of torque. It's more powerful. The weight, I think, is about the same. The new Supra comes in around 3,400 pounds. I think that's similar with the Turbo Supra from the 90s. So more power, similar weight. That's a good recipe. It still is, of course, rear-wheel drive. Standard on it is an active rear differential. So it's a very good balanced platform. It's a 50-50 weight distribution. So the numbers stack up to be that this is going to be a good performing, fun to drive sports car. Now looking at the specs again, the base model, so that one you get like a 6.5-inch screen on it. In the interior, you get Alcantara seats. For about $2,500, you can get the optional upgraded sound system as well as the navigation system in it. And then all of the cars also have the optional driver assistance package. That's just a lot of the safety features, so adaptive cruise, blind spot, rear cross traffic alert, parking sonar, all that kind of stuff. So that's an optional $1,200. And then the premium, so it comes standard with the navigation. You get a bigger screen, 8.8 inches. You get the 12-speaker JBL audio system. And then what's kind of new with this one versus the base, you get heated seats. They're full leather versus the Alcantara seating. You get the wireless phone charging and a heads-up display system. And then the launch edition is based off the premium, just with a few more cosmetic goodies. I think you get like red mirrors, you get red leather on the inside, and then a unique badge saying, it's one of 1,500. So really the base and the premium are what we're working with. And the biggest difference is if you outfit the base with that navigation package, you still get nav and the upgraded audio system. You just don't have heated seats, you don't have full leather, and you don't have the heads-up display. For me, I am planning to buy one. I've been talking to 2 different Toyota dealers trying to get to where I have to be to put a deposit on one. I want to buy one, honestly. I'm gonna probably stick with a base model with the tech package on it, just because I would rather have the Alcantara seats than the leather. And with that, I don't need heated seats if I have Alcantara seats because they don't really get that cold. And then having a bigger navigation screen versus the 6.5-inch, I don't really care about that. And heads-up display is cool, but again, I don't really care. So I'm looking at a car around $52,000, $53,000 versus closer to $55,000 if I went with a premium. The driver assistant package I'm not really interested in. I never had that stuff before and I don't really care about having it. But one thing really cool that I want to mention, the standard features on this new car is actually pretty nice. For a sports car that's not, you know, crazy, it's not a $100,000 car, but it's not just your typical like a Toyota 86 or something smaller like that. You get coming standard adaptive suspension. So you have suspension modes in it. You have the active rear differential, you have launch control. I know looking at the screen, kind of like your other BMW sports cars, it has all these settings to change the steering, the suspension, the engine, all that kind of stuff. So it's going to have all the drive modes that are really fun to play with. It also has forward collision warning, auto braking with pedestrian detection, you have lane keeping assist, road sign assist, and auto high beam. So that's all standard. So it's actually a pretty well outfitted car. I think it's coming with a lot of good standard safety features that make it a car worth about $50,000. And then when we look at the performance, you know, the engine power is pretty good. It tops out at 155 miles an hour and can do 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds. That's pretty quick. I'm pretty sure that was a lot quicker than my Nismo 370Z was. Obviously, the new Supra isn't on par with the Skyline anymore. The GT-R is a supercar performing vehicle. The new Supra is not. That's more of a sports car performing vehicle. So that's more in line with your V8 Mustangs and SS Camaros, but more on a nimble, smaller chassis. So a little bit different, but similar pricing to those cars. But that is kind of it for all the specs of it. I think overall Toyota did do a pretty good job on it. The biggest things people are hating about it is the fact that we got a BMW engine. We only have an automatic transmission. Now, in all honesty, while I'm still gonna buy one, even if it's only an automatic, that's not the worst thing in the world, but they absolutely need a manual for the car. I'm not defending Toyota, saying that they made the right choice. It's not a supercar performing car, therefore it doesn't need only an automatic. When the R35 came out, a lot of people hated it because it only had an auto, but when they saw it in the performance settings, when these things were destroying Ferraris, McLarens, Lamborghinis, all the $300,000 supercars, it made sense that this car only came with an automatic because it made a lot of sense for performance. The new Supra is no drag race king, it's no supercar, it's just a fun to drive sports car. While the 8-speed ZF automatic is going to be a really good transmission, that's probably the best automatic you would go with nowadays. I still think a 6-speed manual is going to be perfect for that car, and I think the Z4 comes standard with a manual transmission, so it's not like they don't have the resources to pop that transmission in the Supra. I think they will. I would assume in 1 year. I bet the 2021s, I'm betting that they're going to come with the manuals. So regardless, I'm still going to do my best to hurry up and get a deposit on the car to take delivery as soon as possible. And then when the manuals come out, I'll probably just trade it in for that. Because either way, I want to be a part of the new Supra. I want one sitting next to the GT-R. And even if it's only an auto, but then trade in for a manual, I think that'd be pretty cool. So that then leads us to the title, am I trading this in for the new Supra? That is not the plan. My plan is to buy the Supra alongside this car. In all honesty though, I'm betting that within a few months I might sell the GT-R. So we'll kind of see what happens. No promises, no, who knows what's really going to happen. I love the GT-R, it's definitely a lot of fun, but I think with the Supra it might be a much better daily, given the ZF 8-speed is so smooth, so refined for the slow speed stuff, while the GT-R is kind of clunky around town. And then of course, looking at the cost of it, the Supra is a much cheaper car than this. This thing was 70 grand, the other one's gonna be like 50 something. So that's gonna be a cheaper car to own versus this car. And if I sold this, I could use that money and buy like a Jeep or buy maybe another 370Z or something, maybe to really compare with the Supra. Because I think for a while it would be fun comparing the Supra and Skyline together, or R35. I know some people hate this being called the Skyline, but then it'd be also cool to then compare it with a 370Z, since nowadays those two cars are kind of more on par than the GT-R is. So I think with a Supra and a Z, that might also be a cool way, or I might get something totally different. But either way, I'm not planning to trade this in for a Supra. I am planning to buy a Supra, have it next to this, and then kind of see what happens down the road. But yeah, that kind of wraps up everything I want to talk about. The new Supra is out. I'm pretty impressed with it. I think the design is really good. I think the exterior looks like really nothing else that we see. It's got a lot of really cool lines to it. The rear end is so wide. There's a lot of different lines and shapes and like roundness around the wheels. There's a lot of cool shapes to it. I think they did a pretty good job making it like the FT1, but more of a road legal version of it. I know a lot of people were mad that it doesn't look exactly like the FT1, but in all honesty, what I don't like with concept cars, they make them so crazy looking none of it would be legal for like what a road car has to have. I mean, the headlights have to be a certain size, the wheels have to be certain, the ground clearance. There's so many things that the FT1 just, it probably wouldn't even be close to being a legal, road legal production car from Toyota. So it didn't make sense for that to ever be a production car. While it looks insane, and I mean, that looks like a budget Ferrari, it looks insane. I think the new Supra does carry a lot of similar lines to it, and I think overall it looks really good on the outside. The only thing I don't like is the interior. I think the steering wheel is very boring. It's your basic like BMW 3 Series steering wheel, which I think is a little underwhelming. It's not very sporty looking. I think they should have used an M2 steering wheel. They had the resources with BMW. Why not put an M steering wheel in the car? I think that would have been a lot cooler. And then the overall dash and seat layout, it looks all right. I wouldn't say it's the most sporty looking car out there. Again, I haven't seen it in person, so maybe it looks totally different in person. That does happen a lot of times. But yeah, that is the new Supra, kind of my plans with it. I'm hoping I can get a deposit on one. The only thing that's going to make me not buy one is if there's insane dealer markup. When other cars have come out, like with the Focus RS, the Civic Type R, I mean, dealers were charging like $30,000 or $20,000 over MSRP, and in 6 months, they're now, normal pricing. So nowadays, if you look at a used Type R or Focus RS, they're like 30 grand. So they're half the price of what people are paying for them. So with the Supra, if they're charging 70 or 80 grand at a dealer, I'm obviously not going to buy one. I will wait until they get down to MSRP, or wait till I get a used one for like 40 grand. But if I can get it at MSRP sticker price, I'm going to buy one and hopefully can spec it out or something really cool. But that is kind of it, everything I want to talk about with the new Supra. I know a lot of people are torn between it. I think we got to at least give it a chance. Toyota at least came out with a sports car again. It has a turbo engine, it's rear-wheel drive, it's a 2-seater. It's got some performance to it. It looks pretty cool. And I think they still should make a manual, maybe make a TRD edition that comes with like the M steering wheel, lowering springs, and like a manual transmission and a few other goodies like that. I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, new Supra's here. I'm excited for it. I know a lot of you are. I know a lot of you hate it, but we'll see what happens. Let's at least give it a chance and see what the car's like once they start hitting the dealers. But that is everything I wanted to talk about with the new Supra. I'm really, really pumped about it. I can't wait to have one sitting next to my GT-R. That is going to be a ton of fun to film comparisons with the two. But anyway, that is it for today's video. Don't forget though, we have new apparel down in the description below. Only have 50 of each design available. They are selling pretty quick, so hopefully you guys can get your hands on them before they are gone. So that is it for today's video. Give it a huge thumbs up, smash the subscribe button. We'll see you guys next video.